Hello everybody, welcome to the Centbee Show. I'm your host Lorien and Gamaroff, and my co-host today is KG and Ntshingila. How are you doing, KG?
Good on yourself, Miss G.
I'm amazing, and I'm glad to see that we've got something to celebrate today.
Yeah, man, there's a lot happening today. You're on our 6th episode, V4 coming up, so there's just a lot. There's a lot happening, exciting stuff.
Yes, absolutely, and also going to see some of our users in other countries as well next week. So,
I'm sure you're looking forward to that.
Absolutely. The users on our support groups, on our channels, sometimes I manage to get in there and see what some of them are saying, and I'm pleased to see our Nigerian users are quite excited to have me there, and they've already said they want to come and meet me, so
Yeah.
I'm quite excited about that.
Yeah, shout out to Nigeria, man. We've been receiving so much love from the guys, especially since last year, September, like mid last year, September or so. The influx has been crazy since actually it was when you came back from the conference. Was it the Dominion one?
Yes, there were two conferences. One was a conference at the university, Baze University in
Yes.
Abuja,
Yeah.
and then there was another, I think it was the Digital Nigeria 2022 conference.
22, okay.
So I got two opportunities to go to Abuja.
Yeah.
And in the first case, it was a university.
Yeah, yeah.
So I spoke to, I mean, there must have been 1,000 people in that place, maybe more.
Yeah.
And all the students, and they were excited to hear about blockchain. And I got to tell them about Bitcoin as cash, as a
Yeah.
cash system.
Yeah.
I think a lot of them were interested in NFTs and all those sorts of things. But I got to go and show them
Yeah.
that Bitcoin was meant to be cash, and Centbee is a great something that they can use in their day-to-day lives. And I think that's pretty much where it started spreading. I think news started spreading about Centbee, and as you say, we've had a massive influx of users coming from Nigeria. Obviously, there's a lot of people in Nigeria, all of them interested in. I mean, there's so much interest in crypto there.
It's crazy.
So I think a Centbee stands out. It's not trying to be something like a speculative trading thing, where you can go and invest and do all that madness.
Yeah.
It's something that's kind of fresh. I mean, the fact that Bitcoin can be used as cash.
It's cash, yeah.
So that's really cool, and especially in Nigeria, a lot of people are really liking the shop feature, buying especially mobile recharge data and stuff like that on a daily basis, earning rewards and sharing with their friends.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely. I'm very happy about Nigeria, and I'm hoping that that spirit and that understanding about Bitcoin and Centbee as a global digital cash wallet spreads to other countries around there.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Yeah, like we said, man, we have a honey-packed show. Yeah, so we're going to be actually tapping into what's coming. You guys should be excited because there's a lot coming. I'd suggest that you guys, check out the Centbee app in the stores there. Ms. G, let's unfold what's coming with version 4.
Sure. Well, I mean, the first thing I think everybody will notice is that we've had a bit of a UI refresh. Nothing too drastic.
Yeah.
We've just kind of looked at it a bit and tried to polish it up and add some more graceful kind of lines and curves around the whole thing. And so that's definitely going to be something that everybody notices. And then also brought things like the shop more prominently onto the home screen. I think we're always going to want to keep that home screen very plain and simple.
Yeah.
We don't want to have junk on there. It's meant to be something that's clean. When you open up your wallet, you just have this little clean, fresh screen.
Yeah.
But we thought it was important to bring that shop button onto the home screen because people use it all the time. I mean, that's what you do when you open your wallet, right? You want to go and spend it.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things. But you've also been involved, and what are the things that you like about it?
Pretty much everything, because being part of the refinement process, like it's very much humbling, for me, because I consider myself first as a user. So I'm very much pleased with the changes that have been implemented, because like you're saying, the shopping is more easier for filtering, to find the categories, the new themes that are there, so I'm pretty cool. I'm happy with what we have achieved at this point, but I think I'll be more excited and happier once we actually, get to share it with our users once they download and get to experience the new changes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there are a bunch of features.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, it's not that we've just been trying to make it look pretty.
Yes.
We want to keep bringing features, and of course, we've been talking about those in other episodes, and we'll continue to talk about our features and the roadmap that we have.
Yeah, yeah.
And another very important feature, which we have covered in the show before, so if you haven't seen that episode, go back to episode 1 or 2 or 3, I can't remember.
Guys, I'd suggest you actually subscribe, comment, and actually check out our previous episodes, man. Like, there's a lot to catch up on, yo. Yeah.
Absolutely. So we brought in the payment request, and so now that's available.
Oh, yes.
And
yes.
if you go to your receive screen, you can go and swipe over it, and you'll be able to see all your payment requests
Pretty
and
cool.
you know, if they've been paid and the statuses.
Yeah.
So that's a very important thing. But then also some improvements around how Centbee just works, especially when it comes to notifications. Notifications is a very important module in Centbee because that's how we communicate with you.
Yeah.
And where you receive your purchases, because when you make a purchase for a digital product, you're going to be receiving a coupon code or a gift card code or a link.
Yeah.
So notifications are so important.
They are.
But it was always hard to kind of filter them out. You're getting honey every day.
I was about to say, like, I'm sure like our users' favorite notification ping must be the honey.
Yes, I mean, it's nice to wade through honey, but when you're looking through for your gift card that you want to go and spend,
Could be tedious.
how do you go and find it? You have to scroll and scroll. So we've added some very important searching and filtering. So if you see at the top now, there is a little search bar, and you can type in something like Uber gift card or Airtel or whatever it was.
That makes it easy, hey?
Yeah.
Because it was a bit of a challenge. Like I was saying, I'm a user first, so it was a little bit unpleasant experience. So this is a huge refinement, I have to say.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then also one of the things you'll also see when you tap that search is it gives you kind of basic categories like honey, gift cards, whatever, general.
Yeah.
So that is critical. Also what you can do is you can multi-select them. So you can go and press down on an item, and then you can mark a bunch, and you can mark them as read or unread.
It's cool.
Because those notifications pile up after a
do,
while
yeah.
in your menu, and it's hard to find what's read or unread. So there's that. And then the same kind of thing has been added to the transactions, because sometimes you want to review your transactions and did I make that payment, or when did this happen?
Yeah.
So the same thing has been put in there, a little category filter. It's not perfect. There's some transaction types that we are going to need to put some categories onto, but you can now at least go and do a filter for where's my honey payment or where's my gift card payment and all that. So that's a very important feature as well. And what am I missing?
Mr. G, you're missing something huge.
Yeah.
Nigeria top-ups.
Oh, yes, of course. Yes. This is something that we wanted to do for ages. I mean, we've been talking about Nigeria, and now finally we can offer Nigerians a way to top up their Centbee wallet with BSV in the app. And
that's huge, man. That's big.
That is big. We get so many queries about where can we buy BSV? How do we top up our wallet?
Yeah.
And frankly, we've always been said, well, try find it on an exchange, which is a horrible thing.
It is.
You don't want to get people stuck into an exchange because they just want to top up their Centbee wallet.
Yeah.
So now it's very easy. What you can do in Nigeria is you go to top-ups. There's a new top-up menu item. You just select your country, Nigeria.
Yeah.
And you'll see a bank transfer top up. And the way that works is you will specify how much you want to top up. So you can say 10,000 naira or whatever it is. You'll see there's a little fee added because we have to pay the service providers, but it's pretty low. Yeah. And then once you've done that, it will then give you a deposit account, temporary account that you need to know, at a bank that you need to now do a transfer into. And it's got an expiry. You'll see a little countdown there. Nice. And as soon as you make that payment into that bank account number, then a few minutes later, you're going to then get your BSV sent to your wallet, and it should ping there. It really shouldn't take a few minutes.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's huge, man, I have to say, because I'm sure it's been a challenge for our users, because I could tell that, there's a need for top up, and honey at least came in handy for them to experience the shopping, buy micro stuff like your airtime and stuff, but that's pretty cool, man. Yeah.
Yeah, so that please give it a try. In fact, we released the beta a day or two ago, and we've already had somebody in our Telegram group told me, that they had tried it out and it worked great. So I'm very pleased about that.
Yeah.
But we're not going to stop there. Now, Nigeria is just the first country. We thought that was the most urgent, but I can tell you now, soon to follow, now that we've got the Nigeria top-up capability, that also means shortly we can release one for Kenya, Ghana, and Uganda.
Right.
So we are going to definitely, in the next show maybe, or 2 or 3 shows down the line, we'll announce that Kenyans, Ghanaians, and Ugandans can also top up their Centbee wallet.
Come on, guys. There's nothing more exciting than that. Being able to top up, spend, as simple as that. Come on, guys. BSV is for the future, So remember to download the Centbee app, guys. Subscribe. Show some love, yo. Yeah. So, Ms. G, this is all exciting. The guys in Nigeria, I'm sure, are looking forward to, experiencing the new app. But, what's going to be going down at the conference?
Yes, so now this is an annual conference held in Abuja at the International Conference Center, and it's a 3-day conference. So it's not specifically a blockchain conference, although there will be basically a full day of blockchain on one of those days.
Yeah.
The companies involved around the world, people who have been working in blockchain and have are able to come and bring their experience and share their stories about how they are working with blockchain in their countries.
Sounds like a huge event.
Huge event,
Yeah.
a tremendous event. To be honest, it's very exciting. The conference center is massive, and they pack that conference center out. I can't tell you.
What I appreciate is also the hunger for learning, especially in this space, our previous episodes have covered how much, there's been misinformation about BSV and stuff. So seeing people come in numbers to actually get the truth about what it is, it's actually quite a good start.
Yes, and a great opportunity for us to speak about the things we speak on the show, which is, what Bitcoin was meant to be.
Yeah.
And how this whole crypto craze really is a sidetrack. It's a sideshow.
Yeah.
And so to be able to speak to so many people there, frankly, and say, give them the bare facts of the matter and say, Bitcoin was not about crypto.
Yeah.
It wasn't about being your own bank. It wasn't about making millions. It was really just a new data network that could facilitate payments and transactions.
Yeah.
And with all these other kinds of features out there that we're seeing now in all sorts of fields,
Yeah.
a lot of those will be discussed at the conference. So I'm really glad that I can go there and get a chance to talk to so many people. The reception is always great. I think it's because I'm not going there trying to sell a dream, sell this idea
Yep.
that buy my coins or buy these cryptos and you'll make
People are
money.
not stupid, Mr. G. People want honesty and transparency, and this is the opportunity, for us to show that that's what we stand for.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. But also give them the knowledge that can help them do great things and have great benefits in this space. And the benefits are not what you expect. They're not about buying crypto and then making money off that.
Yeah.
But it's about becoming knowledgeable and understanding what this is about, so that they can make good decisions about what to learn, what areas that they can get into, new types of businesses that they can create.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to create an arbitrage business or a trading company or something, go and actually build a company that provides some kind of necessary service to a corporate or even government.
A real world situation.
The real world. And then they can become real entrepreneurs, not just gamblers and dreamers.
Scammers.
So that's why I'm very glad to go there. And as I said, the reception is always wonderful. I get a chance to be with and to spend time with the Director General, the Honorable Mr. Abdullahi, who is the Director General of the National Information Technology and Development Agency.
Yeah.
So I'm very glad to go and get a chance to see him again. And of course, all these other thought leaders in that space.
Yeah. No, it sounds like something not to be missed. Guys in Nigeria, Abuja, make sure that you visit the conference there. Check out, is it Digital Nigeria website? Or also we'll put the link down here below. Yeah, Ms. G. So, I mean, I'm just excited about, having to speak about the top-up feature that's new in version 4. But what I would like to understand in terms of Bitcoin, what can it do in the emerging markets?
I alluded to it a short while ago where, the original idea of Bitcoin was as a peer-to-peer digital cash system or electronic cash system.
Yeah.
Now, of course, that is a tremendous tool and tremendous utility on its own. But the nature of blockchain, the kind of technology, I guess you could say, that underpins Bitcoin, being a decentralized ledger, one that is immutable, meaning one that you can't go and edit easily, something that is transparent so that people can audit it, can know and be able to trace information and payments, but also if you tokenize items, in other words, if you just create digital certificates or digital tokens that represent items, real world items, maybe goods and products that get shipped around the world, you're able to record that on the ledger, and now the people who are interested in the information on that ledger can all share that information. They can then trust that it's not just information on one side. They can know that it's reliable. So there's so many different things that are now coming out that people are looking at blockchain and saying, this is really great. We have all these opportunities. Now, of course, it's not new that people are looking at blockchain for that, because of course this idea of smart contracts, which are just little bits of software that process data on the blockchain. Also this idea of being able to tokenize things like property deeds or even tracing diamonds. Those are old ideas. And so that's why a big reason why a lot of these blockchains sprang up, because people said, well, Bitcoin is for gold. You don't want to be able to just load data onto the blockchain, the Bitcoin blockchain. Let's just use it as a digital gold system. And that forced a lot of people to say, well, we like this blockchain idea, but we want it to do more than just be something you hodl. And so that's why we ended up with new blockchains like Ethereum and Ripple and Cardano and all these others, because the entrepreneurs saw Bitcoin as a wonderful tool, but it was being constrained by the people who were kind of in charge of it, or put themselves in charge of it. It's not that they by right should be in charge. The people who own the code repositories of the BTC blockchain, it's kind of like a little elitist little group who decide how Bitcoin should work, and then they feed that down into the social media army, and that's what spreads all the myths around BTC being a decentralized digital gold. But Bitcoin was meant to be something that became commercialized, something that wasn't just a thing that ran in people's little computers in people's bedrooms and everyone was just trading tokens. It was meant to be used in enterprises, large corporations who want to use it as a transactional network to facilitate millions and billions and trillions of transactions per second. And it needed to scale, which means the whole nature of the proof of work thing that makes Bitcoin secure, that was always intended to be something that became commercialized, where only a few companies were willing to invest the amount of money to build the infrastructure, the mining computers and the warehouses and the cooling and the maintenance and everything, because they thought that they could make a little bit of money by doing that, by spending a huge amount of money. You're always looking at your 1 or 2% margins. So that was the intention. Satoshi Nakamoto himself said that Bitcoin was meant to scale to data centers. It was never intended for everybody to run their own node. The people who transact on the Bitcoin network were on the edges, and they were just supposed to have wallets like Centbee, and Centbee just leaves all that mining and verification stuff to the mining network. The few participants, not millions, not hundreds, maybe 10 in the world. Large companies who are now operating the Bitcoin network, and the wallets just worry about user experience and using that. So that was the intention of Bitcoin from the very beginning. And unfortunately, it was constrained. And so all these other blockchains started coming along, and they said, well, look, you can do with this blockchain idea. You can make smart contracts, you can make ordinals, you can make NFTs. You can do all these very cool things. So that's why we have this world that has all these unnecessary blockchains, because the reality is, the truth is, and this is what very few people think and understand, is that Bitcoin itself, the way it was originally designed, has all those capabilities and more built within it. The original Bitcoin protocol, which is BSV, of course, Bitcoin SV, Satoshi's vision, what he designed in the white paper, a system that could scale massively, that could become commercialized, that was regulatory friendly. A very important thing about Bitcoin is that it's not anonymous. It's pseudonymous, meaning that you can see transactions and then you can link those transactions to identities in a regulated, compliant world. So now we have this universe of millions of blockchains, and everybody's really seeing cool ideas, but unfortunately being sucked into one or other blockchain that is promising to deliver on Bitcoin's true potential, but has difficulties because what Satoshi Nakamoto created did solve problems that previously were unsolved and had novel features in it that could make it work. And all these other blockchains have missed that. They don't have the mind of Satoshi Nakamoto. They are pursuing things in their own way. And ultimately, I think the blockchains that exist today will disappear, and all those developers will eventually realize that the original Bitcoin protocol is sufficient for all that. And now the beauty of that is that we have a single network that everybody can use. And that's exactly what we have already today in the form of the internet.
I was about to say, the internet protocol doesn't just change all of a sudden.
It doesn't change, and the whole world uses it, and it's useful for that reason. So the future of a useful blockchain world is not millions of blockchains all being connected with other blockchain technologies, but actually a single data network, one ledger, where the mining network is facilitating trillions of transactions per day, and at very low cost, those per transaction, but just enough of a fee to be able to sustain those few miners out there. So this is now a very important thing for people to digest, is that the future of the world, if you look at history, and of course history doesn't repeat, but we can learn from it and we can see how things can play out. The internet itself once was not just a tidy single system. There were many competing networks out there. And if that is any guide as to how things are going to unfold, then clearly we need a single blockchain world. And which blockchain is that going to be?
BSV.
And that's what we believe. We believe Satoshi Nakamoto had it correct, and what he created works. And in fact, it's demonstrable now. I mean, the fees on Centbee are extremely low. Transactions are instant.
There's more than enough proof.
So what more could you want? So that's why we are very strong advocates of the Bitcoin SV protocol, and trying to, and this is part of what I always try and do, is express this.
And I appreciate that, Mr. G, because, excuse me, because like I was saying, the issue is actually, the misinformation that's out there, so that's why, I will sit here and digest it, because it's important for me to also take it in, also for our users, to get this information about what's the true nature of Bitcoin SV, Mr. G, with that being said, what I would want to understand is how can governments benefit, from the blockchain?
I think a lot of people think that governments should by default be anti something like this. And in fact, I think the very last time I was in Nigeria, I was in Lagos at the RegTech 2023 conference. I think it was this year. It was a few months ago.
This year, actually.
Yes. And at that conference, I also gave the opening keynote there. And the topic of that was how governments mustn't only look at how they can regulate and control blockchain, but how they can benefit from it by incorporating it into their systems and incorporating it into the infrastructure of the world, the financial infrastructure, but also the regulatory infrastructure, and to leverage blockchain to make things more efficient, make them more transparent, and to open up also possibilities for entrepreneurs to come and create new services and products that we are yet to even see yet. So the whole point of that keynote was to try and encourage governments to try and adopt it themselves, instead of just thinking how can they stop it or how can they regulate it, how can they control it. Turn that around and say how can they use it. So this is now something that I'm going to try and also touch on while I'm in Abuja. And of course, clearly one of the most obvious things is when it comes to tax. You know, one of the beauties of Bitcoin is that when you make a payment, you don't only have a single beneficiary of that payment. You can have multiple beneficiaries. In one payment, you can make a payment to 5 or 6 or 10 or 100 or 1,000 different beneficiaries, different people or whatever it is.
Shoot, I can already see the use case, like even like payroll, you know, like, wow, yeah.
Yes, exactly. So if you think about sales tax right now, when you go into the store and you buy a Coke, what happens is you make a payment, and then what happens is that a merchant has to then go and do an accounting and declare tax and pay the tax over. Now, when it comes to Bitcoin, if you are using Bitcoin as a payment, then what you can do is in the single payment, you can now go make a payment to the tax man, and you can make a payment to the merchant, and the job is done. The account, the record is now immutably installed on the blockchain. The
best part is that it also like seizes any opportunity for, you know, illicit activity, you know, because if it's one transaction, it's gone. It's
paid. Exactly. So in terms of being able to get the money from the transaction for the tax man and in a single payment, everything is neatly all tied up in a bow. To me, that is the most obvious thing to do. Now, of course, I said if people use Bitcoin as payment, but one of the other things that you can do on a blockchain is that you can create tokens, or digital representations of things. You can tokenize local currency on the blockchain. So you can have a digital currency, and of course what's very popular right now are governments looking at and thinking about CBDCs or central bank digital currencies. And they're looking at ways of implementing this, and blockchain there is a perfect tool, especially BSV blockchain, in fact only BSV blockchain, to be able to digitize currency, local currency, so rands or nairas or dollars or yen or whatever it is, onto the blockchain, and then people can use those local currencies, but using the blockchain as the payment rail or the payment network. So it's not that you have to, as a merchant, accept BSV as payment for goods.
I think it's important that you mentioned that, because I mean, the normal ideology behind it, people would think like the adoption is like strictly receiving or accepting BSV as, you know, a form of currency. But for the fact that, you know, it's sort of like interchangeable within the blockchain, that fits into the real world, actually.
Exactly. And that's pretty much, I think, how most governments would handle it. They would have their own currency tokenized on blockchain, and people would then use apps like Centbee, which could then easily host a digital currency, a local digital currency. So that's another way governments could benefit, and the financial system itself can benefit by leveraging this global digital transactional network that has security and integrity built into it, to be able to then leverage that to create other things like a new currency, a local currency on the blockchain that people can pay with. So you can go and pay $1 using the blockchain. And then, of course, a whole lot of other things, like if you think about data integrity, you know, what you could do is you can store what's called a hash or a little fingerprint of documents onto the blockchain. And then what you could do, if you wanted to know if that document had been tampered with, you could then get the fingerprint and see if it matches with the fingerprint on the blockchain. So it's a great way for data integrity. I know a company called CertiHash, and what they are doing is that they are logging logs, server logs, onto the blockchain. So what you can then do is you can then have any access or whatever it is on those servers logged to the blockchain. Now, why is that important? Because when you get hacked, if you're a company, normally what the hacker does, the first thing they do, at least the last thing they do once they've finished doing what they wanted to do on your servers, is they go and delete all the logs. And then you can't see that somebody's been poking around, and then you'll never know that there's a backdoor that somebody's getting into. But CertiHash, what they do is they allow you to log to the blockchain, which means it's impossible to delete those traces of tampering or illicit activity on those servers. So you can see how blockchain now is by far more than just the Bitcoin token as a digital cash, but being able to leverage it in a government context and a private sector context or any kind of context for security, for integrity, for low-cost transactions that are secure. And so definitely, if governments are really awake about these things, then they can go and start looking at not just creating a regulatory framework, but creating an adoption framework, how they can drive adoption forward.
Because it would actually suck for a government not to consider the transition, because by the time they catch up, it will be far too late, honestly, because this is the future. This is the future of transactions, the future of data moving, So there's no way government should be in a position of not considering this as a, financial system.
Absolutely, yes. And, everything I've said stands for, private companies. But, there's also a lot of scope for, as I said, entrepreneurs who can start learning how to use these tools and creating these products and services. So
you're saying I can go and create a game on the blockchain?
Yes, you can, of course, just like you can go and create a website on the internet, no one's going to stop you. And you can try and create something, a game or a useful tool, maybe an accounting tool or a supply chain tool. Maybe you want to track goods through a supply chain, and you can use the blockchain.
Because I was also thinking around that. I'm thinking about Amazon being one of the biggest e-coms. Why aren't they using the blockchain? Because it would make sense for them to adopt it.
Well, the reason why the adoption has been so slow is because the world is crowded out with these crypto anarchists who are talking about Bitcoin and these cryptocurrencies as not tools for compliance, but tools for anarchy. They want to say, we want to create our own system, but it mustn't be able to be manipulated. We want to work outside of the system. And now, of course, everybody, reasonable and sensible and responsible business owners, but also regulators and other law enforcement, they're listening to this and saying, well, this is untenable. We can't have a world like this. And no, we're not going to give you authority to have a securities, an ETF or something like that. Because we see that there's risks. There's money laundering risks, there's terrorist risks. And of course, that's all true. If you have an anonymous currency, an anonymous way of sending money around the world, on one hand, you think, well, that's very freeing, but it enables the criminals too.
It does.
And so we just can't look to that world. But also, it'll never happen, because no law enforcement or government regulator will ever allow it to happen. We can't have a system like that. We know that. But also the irony here is that the crypto people who are most passionate, but not intending it for bad things, they really genuinely see a useful thing here. Because they advocate for that nature of crypto, which is decentralized, anonymous, untraceable, unconfiscatable, permissionless, all these types of words that you hear, they are shooting themselves in the foot. They don't realize how much damage they're doing because they don't sit in those regulatory meetings. I have been in those meetings and spoken to many executive committees and high-level people in government and the private sector, and none of them are interested in supporting or allowing that sort of tool, that crypto tool, to exist. So, if people want this to succeed, if people want blockchain to be successful, they have to stop this whole thing about anarchy and giving it to the man and realize that there's a lot more benefit in just sticking to the original idea of Bitcoin as a commercialized regulatory compliance system.
Yeah.
And just like with the internet, we saw how the internet bloomed and created the world we live in today, which, I mean, none of us can imagine living without a cell phone for a few minutes. You know, how do we get around? How do we live? But 20 years ago, nobody had cell phones, nobody had the internet, and we survived. I think the same thing would happen. If we allow Bitcoin to be commercialized and regulated, then what we will see is this blossoming of all these ideas that I can't even think of. And the next 10 years could be very different. But if we persist in sticking to this idea that this is a decentralized system that cannot be controlled by anybody, and that's what we want, well, then we're never going to get anywhere.
Yeah. All right, Mr. G, I'm happy that you clarify that every week for us, because it's important for our users to understand which is the real Bitcoin. You know, BSV is the only Bitcoin that I acknowledge. I've never acknowledged the others. Honestly, even in the starting days.
Well, we can't say never, because we were a BTC app and then we were a BCH, but that's only because we always stuck to the original protocol.
The white paper.
The white paper.
Yeah, and for me, that means we have stuck to the original.
True.
The only switch was just the name thing.
The symbols.
The symbols.
Yes.
But if you look at under the hood, we kept the same engine.
That's right.
So BSV is the future, and we can't deny it. Guys, remember to check out the Centbee app, yo. Yeah, man, Mr. G, I'm happy that we are on our 4th version for Centbee. Yeah, man. I mean, this is a very huge spectacle for us. It's been a long ride. It's been a long journey, you know. So for Centbee to reach this point, for me, it's very much humbling, because it means that we are serving our purpose in that sense, you know, like enabling people, you know, send money quicker, faster, cheaper, you know. I mean, yeah, guys, download the Centbee app. I'll always keep on repeating that. Like, we can't be always mentioning these cool stuff and you guys don't check out the app. It only makes sense you download it, experience it for yourself, and give us some feedback. Yeah, with that being said, Mr. G, we're going to tap into our users' feedback from this week, social media. Yeah, so yeah, our first question for this week is from Telegram, from Abdullah Hakim Yusuf. Well, the Google Play Store has required all apps must target a minimum of Android 13 version.
Yeah, now this is a thing that was forced upon us. When we released version 4, what Google Play has done now is they said no new updates are allowed to apps that don't target at least version 13 of Android.
Yeah.
Now that's pretty awful for us,
It
because
is.
you know, we have a lot of users out there who have older phones and who don't have Android 13. But literally, there was nothing we can do. This is going to impact all apps.
Yeah.
So if you are using an app on your Android phone and you haven't got Android 13 yet, you're not going to be able to update any apps. So it's very sad that we have to deal with it, but we had no choice. So unfortunately, if you don't have a device that is Android 13, then Centbee version 4 is not going to work for you. So I hope that maybe something can change and you can get another device or figure a way of getting it so you can experience version 4.
Yeah. That sucks. That's actually a bit of a bummer, because like you said, most of our users are on Android. So that's going to cripple like a lot of our upgrades, because, you know, they're not going to get to experience version 4, man. Yeah. Anyway, Centbee is still awesome on version 3. So yeah, Ms. G, just also tapping into our highlights and feedback for this week. Crypto Neo, he says he just did his first top-ups on Centbee. This is a dream come true. Congratulations, Centbee. Congratulations, BSV. This guy's in Nigeria.
Yes, he's
What?
somebody who is quite an old user. He reached out on the Centbee Telegram group, and he said that he finally managed to top up. He has been asking about when the top-ups will be available, so we let him know.
Yeah.
And he dived right in and he did a top-up, and I'm glad that he said everything went fine.
So this is like our very first top-up from Nigeria.
That's it. That's our first one.
Shout out to Crypto Neo, yo. Ms. G, our follow-up question based on what he asks, what he said in terms of the top-up. What he wants to understand is like, he wants to understand how does he get to increase his limits.
Yes, so now this is something you'll notice when you top up with Centbee, is that we have a regulatory obligation
Yes.
to put limits in what you can spend, because what you're doing when you are topping up is that you are taking local currency like Naira, and you are essentially buying BSV, and that's where regulators want some kind of know your customer kind of identity information, because for them, they believe that's where the money laundering risk can happen.
Yeah.
And so if you're going to be converting your BSV to local currency or from local currency to BSV, then what we have is an obligation to capture your identity. It's quite a seamless process. And all you do is you take a photo of your ID and you take a photo of your face, a selfie.
Yeah.
And then after that, if everything goes well and the photo is clear, then you'll be verified. And we start everybody off on some limits. I'm trying to remember what the daily limit is in Naira. It could be 250,000 Naira or something like that per day.
Okay.
But what you can do is, if you want to get more, if you want to raise your limits, then that's a fairly easy process too. You would just need to email support@centbee.com, and then we will ask for information like the source of funds. You know, we would want to know where you got the money, and maybe some other identifying information like maybe a proof of address or something like that. Again, that is part of the obligation that we have, and that's the sort of information we need to have to then be able to satisfy the regulators that we aren't enabling money laundering or anything like that.
Due diligence.
Yes. So if your starting limit is too low, and also you know we've seen some history. It's not that you're just coming into Centbee and you just suddenly want to buy millions and millions worth of BSV. If you've made some purchases and we've seen a track record and we kind of get to know you, then of course that can also go a long way to helping you raise your limits.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Thanks for that, Ms. G. So yeah, I mean that gets to answer Krypton Neo's question, because I'm sure our users in Nigeria are gonna be like trying to figure out now how to actually top up their limits now. Yeah, cool. So for our second highlighted post, it's from X, well, formerly known as Twitter. Kyla San Miguel is saying, "Don't just watch life go by. Seize the moment with Centbee. This mobile wallet brings the power of digital cash right to your fingertips." That's true. Couldn't agree more.
That's what it does.
Thanks for the love, Kyla. Our third highlighted feedback, also from X. So Sophia Dulali, she's saying that with Centbee ChatPay, managing your finances becomes as easy as having a conversation. The ability to send money to your contacts right in your chat adds a whole new level of convenience and fun to your everyday interactions. It's a game changer for simplifying transactions. Come on, guys. This is not even us. It's you guys. So, I mean, this is coming from the horse's mouth. It can't be any truer than this. So, yeah, Ms. G, thanks for an awesome show. I mean, wishing you good luck in Abuja. Represent well. I mean, I'm sure the guys are looking forward to checking you out there at the conference.
Yep, and I'm very much looking forward to checking them out as well. So again, if you are in Abuja from the 22nd to the 27th, then I'll be at the International Conference Center and speaking about blockchain, but there'll also be a lot of other interesting people from around the world there. So please come down. It'll be great to meet you. I'm very excited about that.
Yeah.
But I just want to thank everybody. Thanks to our team who's running behind the scenes there, making the show work for us. And I hope you guys give us some feedback, you know, especially when you leave feedback. Leave your pay mail so we can reward you with honey.
Yeah.
Especially the good feedback. Doesn't have to be positive, can be negative.
Yeah.
But also remember, if you create content, if you create some X videos, Twitter X videos, or something for us, you know, we'll notice that and we'll appreciate that with some honey.
Yeah, show some love, guys. Remember to follow us on Instagram, on Twitter, Telegram. Also hit us up on our website. Also check us out on the app stores.
Great. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in today to the Centbee Show. Please come back soon.
V4 is finally out, guys. It's in beta version. Check it out on Google Play Store.